Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Robby Yates.
Hi, everyone. I am Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I am with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas, and we would like to welcome you to our Lift Your Story podcast.
We're pleased in this episode to have Robby Yates with us today. He is the co-founder of Follow App. He's also a podcaster and host of Where the Fortune Is. Thanks for being with us today.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. And I am not that guy, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
All right, great. So tell us about Follow App.
Sure. Follow App it's an app to, we like to say, network like a Jedi Master. And how it came about, this is pre-COVID. I was sitting in a sea of people during a breakfast and networking event. And I'm thinking, who is over there that I can do business with, and how can I do business with them? And how can we, collaborate and work together without bypassing 20 people to get to that one person? And even when you get to that one person, there's no guarantee that it's going to be the right fit for my business or their business. And so I thought, well, let me see if I can't find something to help me out. So here we are. We've recently launched and Follow Up as we presented to a local chamber of commerce here, and been a few articles around Memphis, Tennessee, which has been great. And it just allows people to, when they walk into a room, I like to say, let the app go to work for you. That way you don't have to worry about missing a business card or passing it to the wrong person or missing that connection. So essentially when you walk into a room, it allows you to see who's there and what industry you can work with without, and then plus now during COVID and after COVID, it still keep that safe distance. And then from there, then once they're stored in your contacts, everything is sorted and stored by industry. And then you're able to then go and follow up with that person per their preferred method of contact. Everybody has a different way of communicating, some email, text, phone. So we'll just try to help that as well and streamline that to make that a little bit easier.
So both people have to have the app though, correct?
They do, but just because they don't have the app, it's still okay. You can still share your profile just like you would just a virtual business card. You can share that out. And we found that for a couple of examples, realtors, they like it because they'll have a direct link to their website for their listings. Insurance agents like it because they can get a quote in real time from somebody. Whenever somebody trying to traffic or trying to drive to the website, they can do that by sharing their profile.
Is it a paid app? Like a monthly fee?
No, not right now. It's just because we recently launched. It's free right now, and then we're just building it out there, getting awareness, and then there's some other features we want to implement, but we want to make sure we spend the money appropriately so we can ultimately benefit the business owner that's out there trying to network and find the next client or referral partner. And once we fine tune that, then there'll be some additional, like a premium feature that we will incorporate for subscription. But right now it's just free. We're just asking people to really dive into it and dissect it and see the benefit of it.
Okay.
Is it primarily if you're going to an event, do you contact the event project manager or the event manager who's going to be putting it on, and then they set it up, or how does that work?
No, they could download it beforehand, and we've had some people they're using it just in their everyday life. Like I said, just sharing that profile with people. So they'll have direct links to their email, phone number, and website as well. And then the other side of it, for when people are venturing back out, but still kind of have that apprehension of being in a room with people, and so just to decrease that level of anxiety and pressure, if you will. So when they are there, they can see if somebody's on the app or not. And if they have the app, great, they can swap information. If not, you can share it out and then collect it that way. So that's where we're going with the Chamber of Commerce, because with the first luncheon, and we've been trying to have a luncheon here for past 4 months, and we actually had a luncheon. It was nice for 58 people in the room. It was just, we were in a hotel. It was just spread out. Everybody was the most COVID friendly environment you could be and wearing masks, but it was neat because they all downloaded the app and they used it right there. So you don't have to host it, but we feel like that's to be a benefit, especially for Chamber of Commerce. And then from there, it's kind of a spider web effect to start trickling into other little pockets, if you will.
It kind of sounds like it's an automated LinkedIn.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, if you go ahead and look at it, it's kind of like LinkedIn in real time, except you're not connected with somebody halfway around the world. It's just right there in front of you in the room. So
I
was that
said, so really any business could benefit from this app.
correct? Anybody that's really out, that's going to these little pockets here, any little pocket of town that, or within the town, if you will, that are doing these networking groups, they could definitely benefit from it. Because when you go out, there's no guarantee when you go up and talk to somebody until you get close enough to read what's on like their name badge and what industry they're with or what company. You don't know until you get within 3 feet of them, and you meet some incredible people out there, and everybody's phenomenal in their own right, but there's no guarantee that's going to be a fit. And sometimes I've talked to people out there through research that one individual, they called it time wasters, and I thought was an interesting way of putting it, but they just felt like they were in a conversation, but they didn't want to be rude and just cut the conversation short. So they stay engaged with the conversation. They realize I'm wasting so much time talking to this person when I know there's somebody else on the other side of this room that I could really benefit from, and they could benefit from my business and vice versa. And so that's why we feel like it could be to anybody that's out there trying to grow their business, because I like to say it's a cross-pollination of referrals. So when people are networking, you know what business you can really work with and pass business to and receive business from. Because as much as we all would love to service our customers or clients to the best of our ability, we just don't have all the tools in the arsenal. So therefore, we have to reach out to our fellow business partners that we meet, and we're fostering those relationships so when our customer or client has a need that we can't fit or service in our business, then we can reach out to somebody in that regard and give them that business, and eventually, build upon that.
So in the case that there's an event like the Chamber of Commerce, so I would imagine it's announced that this app is available for the room to sign up to.
It is. That's one way of doing as well. And then also like when they're on the app, then just push notifications just to remind you, hey, your next referral partner is 3 feet away or whatever the case may be. So you walk into a room like the one we just recently did. We did like a preview release, and everybody downloaded it as they walked through the door, and then they were able to see in real time how it works and how it benefits. And now we're connecting with people, because there are times when people go to these luncheons and you're in the room and it's almost like a crapshoot. You sit down at a table, there's no guarantee that people you're with, it's going to be a good fit, but you have some great conversations. You learn about that individual, and they might possibly know somebody that you can help their business, or they can help your business. But this way, when you sit into a room, kind of decreases that anxiety. You can go in, get some food, sit down, and then pull the app up and realize, hey, you know what? There's somebody on the other side of this room that it would probably take me 8 months to maybe get on the radar. Well, now they're on the spot.
That makes sense. I will have to say, I remember the very first time I went to a chamber meeting, and it can be very intimidating for the first time. And somebody said, and I went with someone else, and he goes, I'm abandoning you. You're going to have to find people to talk to and to walk up to that first person. Well, once you do it the first time, it's not as bad, but it's that anticipation. This is a nice icebreaker for people like that. I mean, I moved on to become president of the chamber, so it was like I overcame it. But for some people, they don't. And I think this is great for those, because some people can mingle easily, other ones just can't. And, and definitely being at a table with people who are not what you're looking for in a chamber, event or networking events is particularly important to know where to contact to. So I think this is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate that. It's interesting you say that, because when I first started going out to network, I was one of those. It takes a while to really kind of get in that rhythm and networking, and there's kind of a cadence to it. And then we got out of that obviously during COVID. But when I first started, I remember I was getting ready to walk into an event, and I was sitting in the car, and I was frozen. I called my wife up. She goes, "What are you doing?" And she goes, "Are you nervous?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't know why." I said, "I'm not that type to get that much anxiety." I didn't think. And I said, "I just need to hear your voice. I'm good." And we kind of talked for a little bit. And I realized why I was there, what I'm doing it for. And it's for my family. And I would see the pictures of my kids on the phone, and I go, okay, like this is why I'm here. And then once I was there, I saw a familiar face. And so I really didn't network. I just went straight to somebody I knew and talked to them. And they were like, "Why is you talking to me for an hour, man? You got to leave me alone." So it took me a while to get out of that and just connect with people. And so I've been on that side. Now I still have a little anxiety, but I've done it so much now that you find your rhythm and how to approach people and talk to people. So it's been an interesting ride. So that's another reason what made me want to create the app.
Yeah, and I think the app is also good for, removing that, what I call the Klingon syndrome, so that you can.
Yeah, like me.
Oh, I did the same. The first one I went with my sister. It was ridiculous because we just sat in a little corner, chatted. Second time I went, was like I said, with that person who said, I'm not staying with you. And there was nobody I knew. So I had to, instead of looking like a wallflower, you got to get in there. It's not as bad when you get started, like you said, but it's just that intro. And this definitely would help those people. And like I said, and avoid that Klingon, because you're looking, you go, hey, you know what? There's someone else I'd like to talk to there. And there you go. So I like this.
Yeah.
I think it's a timely app. I mean, I think it's, something that's really needed for people.
Yeah, absolutely. We started this pre-COVID, and then when COVID happened, like, well, people really need it now more than ever. And then I had people ask me, why are you still doing this? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Nobody's going to be out networking. Like, well, we'll be on the side of this eventually. And we're slowly pulling ourselves out of this, but we just wanted to be ready. We don't want to push pause, then wait till we're out of the pandemic and then start developing. So we thought, hey, let's keep going. And then allows us to really kind of tweak and test, and then really be on the side and be ready for, when we are able to, be out there in person again.
And people will be a little bit apprehensive about the networking again because they've been stuck inside. I mean, it's easy for Zoom. I was thinking about that today. I have no problem in chatting and meeting new people online, but in person, it's a whole different ballgame.
It truly is. I was somewhere actually earlier today. I sneezed and they looked at me and they said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm fine." I just sneezed. I mean, everything is okay, but you're right. You kind of look with somebody from the side eye if they clear their throat, if they sneeze. And I saw somebody out and they were trying to cough, but they were trying to muffle their cough because they were scared that somebody was going to look at them and say, "Hey, what do you have?" It's crazy. We look at people now, you automatically put a label on and think they have something and they have nothing at all, or they might. You just don't know. So it's just it's a weird time the way society is. So if anything we could do to help eliminate that stress and anxiety and be able to put people in a better position to grow their business, then that's what we're all about.
And there's also going to be, I'm sure, the not just the fear of someone coughing that, but having been inside and getting back out there. I mean, it took me a while to learn how to network, but when you're stuck inside after a while, you sort of lose that, that comfortable feeling of getting out there again. So you have to baby step yourself back into it. For some people, particularly those who have never really been comfortable with it, it's going to be harder to get back. So this is,
it's just like here in Texas. Next week, all of our restrictions are going to be gone. Okay. So everything's open, no restrictions, but still there's people now saying, well, it's too soon. I don't think this is the right thing to do. So there will still be people wearing masks, and they'll be, hey, step back. I mean, that's still going to go on for a while. But even before all that, you were mentioning going into a room with people you don't know. The people still have that fear of talking to people. And a lot of people have a fear of being talked to. When somebody don't know walks up, they're kind of like, well, who are you? What do you want to talk to me for?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we like having that preferred method of contact in there. So somebody wants to be there, maybe their boss or somebody said, hey, look, we pay for this. We have to go there. Or they send somebody out in the lion's den just to get a connection. And you don't even know. It's like throwing spaghetti against the wall. You're going to meet the right person. So this way they can have that. And some people, they would rather get that connection, and then they could go back and say, okay, look, they want to be emailed, and they could send them an email real quick. And then they can really start communication. Because that's another thing I found, and others I found too, when they're out networking, just because you get somebody's business card doesn't mean that you know the right way to follow up with them. So you may try an email at first, and then that person may not receive email, or they do, but they're just the type that they flag it, I'll follow up, and then they forget. and you're wondering, it's been 5 days, how come Roy hasn't reached out to me? What's going on? And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, Roy actually wants to be called, or he wants to be an email. And then you're like, well, why doesn't Lorianne get back? You're like, what's the deal? And then so it's just try to make that a little bit easier and eliminate that. Then that, stress of, especially when you're sales, it's so difficult as it is.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned being sent to an event, because I hadn't happened to me a couple of times. Oh, hey, I need you to go here on this day. And I'm like, well, what for? Well, we signed up for it. We paid for it. We need to go. Well, it was in my industry, but it wasn't anything that I directly worked with day to day, And so I'm sitting there like, man, wow, okay, I'm here, but now what? I used to hate that stuff.
Yeah, and they probably want you to get some type of connection or contact out there, but at least this way somebody could go and say, you know what, hey, I connected with 10 people that I had no idea I'd get a chance to meet. And then it's like, even with enterprises, with corporates, they can actually use the app as well if they want. I know some people have a separate CRM, customer relations management, software that they use, because they don't want to put everything in with their company because the company has the full rights to it. So there's that aspect of it too, where if they want to put contacts in there, then they can. It depends on which platform. It's interesting to find out how many sales reps out there have 2 CRM systems, because they have their close customers they keep close to their heart, and then they keep those in a separate because they don't want the company dipping into it.
That's very true. So I have to bring this up. Earlier when we were talking about, staying away from people, that silly song came in my head, which I'm surprised that we haven't heard more often, is "Don't Stand So Close to Me." It's like,
oh yeah. That's a great song.
It is. And who knew that would actually be something that would be,
that's the COVID anthem.
Yeah.
So you were in the Coast Guard.
Correct.
I'm assuming you joined the Coast Guard.
I did. I was going to the Navy first, and then I went Coast Guard last minute.
Yeah. How long were you in?
I was in for 6.5 years. I signed up initially when I was talking with the recruiter. They said, you want to do 4 years, you get a $4,000 sign-up bonus. You go in as an E1, it's very basic, or the bottom of the barrel rung, if you will. Or you can go 6 years as an E2, and E3, you become a petty officer. You start moving up, and because at the first E1, E2 on the enlisted side, you call it a non-rate. You don't have a job title yet. I don't want to say a nobody, because you do so much work. You're getting everything rolls down to you. You're doing so much work so I thought, well, I'm making a career out of this. I'll do 6 years. I'll forego the 4,000, because after they tax it, because I asked, well, is that 4,000 up front? And he goes, no, you'll get, over your 4 years, every year you get a little bit of change. I'm like, but then they tax the heck out of it. And I thought, you know what? Sign me up 6 years. E2, my next step is I'll be a petty officer, and I'll be moving up a lot faster. And then that was in January of 2004. And when I went in, I never forget, we're out at sea, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he goes, man, what's today's day? Like, I don't know, man. We're in the middle of the Atlantic. I don't know. Wednesday's Friday, Thursday's Sunday. I said, we're working around the clock. Yeah. I don't know. You tell me what day we're going to be in port, and now we're ready to go out and celebrate. I said, that's what I'm looking for. What's the next port call? And he's sitting there, and he goes, man, he goes, yesterday was my daughter's 10th birthday. And I thought, man, I know. And I thought, that's such a momentous occasion for a child. You're going from single digits to double digits, and they're thinking about, I'm being a teenager, and he missed that opportunity. And then I started thinking, I thought, you know what, if I ever lucky enough to meet somebody, then I'll make that transition to get out, because so I can be there for my, only my wife and my children. And then literally the next month, I met my wife, Katie. We pulled into Boston. I met her. And then from then, I'm like, okay, well, I got to find a way to start transitioning to getting out of the Coast Guard. So then that's when I ended up transitioning to get out of the Coast Guard.
Yeah, I had an uncle that he spent 22, 24 years in. He went in when he was like 17. He got out when he was like 40. And he never had a job. He's 80 something years old, and since that time he never worked for anybody else. And I asked him, why? He goes, I spent 20 some odd years. Somebody tell me where to go, what to do, when to do it. He said, I'm never going to do that again. But I mean, he enjoyed it. Of course, like I say, he was away, but you know, he enjoyed it and it worked out well for him. And matter of fact, he had me talk him to join the Coast Guard. And unlike you, I met my wife before I did it. So I decided, this is back during Vietnam. So, I'll wait and see if I get drafted first. And I didn't. But anyway, yeah. But thank you for your service first.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was interesting. It was a fun time. I saw some friends that are still in, and it's just interesting to see how they progress through their career. I've saw some that are out and what they've done with their life and career afterwards. And it's, I mean, I can't say enough good things about it, but it's that lifestyle, no matter what branch of service you're in, it is tough on families. And I commend those that stay in the long term because they're sacrificing so much for their family, not only for their country, but I mean, not just in the U.S., but I mean, you look at anywhere in the world, anybody that's in the military, they're sacrificing everything and to be away from their family for so long, it's such a trying time. So it's, I definitely understand where you know, what they go through. It's tough to see at times.
Yeah. So go ahead, Luann.
I was just going to ask about the Savings Lost Children's Restoration Project that you're involved with. You know, before we go, I'd really like to find out a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. We're trying to build, well, I say we, the owner or the founder is Brian Callies, and he's a very religious man, and he hasn't been involved ever with rescuing children from sex trafficking. He's a pastor, and he went on kind of a faith journey, a walk, and said, hey, you know, God, how can I be used? Like, what can I, you know, use me to your building? What can I do? And he said after about a week, it just came to him, you know, for God, and said, hey, saving lost kids. And he's like, saving lost kids. So we started looking into it. So here he is now working, and I met him through Out Networking, coincidentally enough. And then I just was drawn to, because I have two children, wife and I have two kids. And so, you know, it's such a pull at the heartstring, if you will, for that. And then talking with Brian and what he's doing and involved. And then now they're building the largest treatment care facility in the U.S. for children that are rescued, because Brian realized, okay, I'm rescuing these girls. And he rescued one girl 3 times from sex trafficking. And he thought, we can't be putting them back in the same environment. How can we help these children out and give a safe haven for them to go to, and then grow, and then from then go out and then live, you know, a very successful and fulfilling life. So that's when he sat back and realized and evaluated. So it's just been fun to be a part of that, and then to connect people and to really kind of help build that project, because now we have a place where once these children are rescued, and this is not all just girls, sometimes there are boys, unfortunate as well. But when they come back to, now they have a safe haven. Now we have nurses that are volunteered to come in to help out. And then, you know, the psychological eval, the emotional eval, so everything that they're dealing with in trauma, the physical, mental, we have a way to help them out and combat them, just to get them stronger, more prepared, and in education as well. Because we don't want to just rinse and repeat. Okay. And then, so now we have a way to rescue these children and really build them up, and then realize where they were. It was just an awful product of their environment, and then help them out.
So your degree that you got after you got out of the Coast Guard, was it nuclear medicine?
Yeah, I did get my degree in nuclear medicine. Yeah, that's because I was a corpsman when I was in the Coast Guard. And then I was transitioning out to stay in the medical field, got my degree in nuclear medicine. And then I was going to try stay in that field. And it was just an odd timing of the way society was. It wasn't for lack of trying. I literally was going in old school style. I would walk in, dressed in a suit, hand them my resume. And sometimes you have algorithms. If you don't put the right wording in there, then it's not going to get to somebody's front desk. So I was going in, just literally handing my resume out within a 100-mile radius of Memphis, and just going to every hospital, clinic I could go to, and where they distributed pharmaceuticals. And I was networking before I ever knew what networking really was. And then through that, there wasn't a door opening for me at all. And then my wife actually happened to go to a baby shower, and then she ran into somebody and said, hey, they're hiring over at this one company, and it was a completely different industry. And she goes, well, look, I mean, he doesn't care. He has a family to support, and I did not care at all. Exactly that. I need benefits. I need a family to support. What do you have for me? And so that's what I did not go the route. But looking back on it to where I am now, to that time, it's interesting. And I'm not trying to get super religious, but change y'all's faith or any listeners' faith or anything like that. But it's interesting how God can all that lead me to this very moment where I am now, because I truly believe we're on a path, and here I am working with Brian. And so you just never know what's going to happen in life. And of course, we don't know. I mean, God knows what's happening, but that's just it.
Exactly.
Go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Most often it turns out good. If you keep the faith. I do believe that, regardless, like you said, of what religion, you keep the faith.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just before we go, because I know that we're just about, I always say at the top of the hour, although we're a little bit on the bottom of the hour. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcasting? You're the host of the Where the Fortune Is. Just a little bit about what that's about.
Sure. The Where the Fortune Is actually came from a slogan for Follow Up. When I go to events, you have to have a little tagline, and it would be "Your fortune is found in the follow up." So that's where the fortune is, kind of tying that together. And it started really, I just thought I would just do stuff local in the backyard here in Memphis. And then it's interesting, I got introduced to somebody halfway around the world during the pandemic. And this guy lives in New Zealand. I thought that really opened my eyes. I thought, well, yeah, why not? I mean, we're home. Why not talk to anybody and everybody we can across the globe? So it's snowballed from there. And not just talk with leaders, business leaders, really across really various industries, the trials, triumphs, innovations they've done within their industry. And I've talked to people it's been on Broadway. Somebody was a top chef, and somebody they were involved in an unfortunate mass shooting in Las Vegas, and they formed a company from that, and how they really help companies out. And I spoke to one lady. She's a phenomenal individual. She was homeless at 19, and she sold her business 20 years later for $250 million. I mean, just some remarkable people out there. And so you just never know who you're going to talk with. So that's how it kind of snowballed from there. So that's the podcast kind of encompasses all of that.
Great, man. That's great. So how can our listeners reach out to you?
Well, I know you introduced me as Robby, and I appreciate that. It's more of now we're friends, because people, when they say Robert, and like, well, just call me Robby. So then that's the quick icebreaker. But for me, it's Robert Yates. I'm on LinkedIn. And then for anything, the Follow App 20 would be Instagram, and also Facebook as well on those two.
Okay, great.
Really appreciate you being here, and you're absolutely right. You are diverse, and it's been really interesting hearing the story. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.